Scene: inside the Callahan house. Thursday night. The yellowish light of the old TV shone on Mr. Callahan's face. He held the remote, his eyes glued to the football game. Aaron stood straight, dressed in casual clothes, his hand gripping the strap of his backpack. Mr. Callahan, his voice indifferent, without looking at Aaron, "We're not going to waste our time and effort on your pathetic little promotion ceremony." He shrugged, changing the TV channel as if commenting on the cloudy weather. Aaron stood still for 3 seconds, without a word, then turned and walked into the night. Scene: promotion ceremony hall, Fort Meade Bronze, 3 days later, Sunday morning. The room was filled with noise, the laughter and chatter of parents, the playful shouts of children on folding chairs, the proud, sobbing cries of a grandfather in overalls. In the crowded room, Erin stood, her dark blue winter dress blues, the medals on her chest gleaming under the fluorescent lights. She was 37, with 18 years of military service, having risen from a low-level intelligence analyst to the Pentagon's executive office, and she was completely alone. In the second row, in the center of the room, were 2 empty chairs. Tape on the back read, "Reserved for Captain Callahan's family." Aaron smelled the characteristic scent of every military ceremony: the burnt coffee from the industrial espresso machine, the floor polish, the cheap perfume of the wives, and the stiffening of freshly pressed uniforms. Her knees ached, a lingering effect of her days in Afghanistan and her parachute jumps in her youth. In the far corner of the room, Hank, 72, leaning on a cane, holding a Dunkin' Donuts paper cup, nodded softly at her. The old veteran's nod nearly brought Aaron to her knees. At least, someone had come. Colonel Ruiz approached Aaron before the ceremony began. "Cholera Ruiz," whispering. "Are you all right, Callahan?" Aaron, back as straight as a ruler. "I'm perfectly fine, Colonel." That was the standard military answer. No matter how much your life was on fire, you had to answer, "I'm perfectly fine." Colonel Ruiz looked at her longer than usual, then patted her lightly on the shoulder. "Collaborate, Ruiz. You deserve this rank. Is your family here?" Aaron, looking straight ahead. "They're busy, sir." Aaron clenched his teeth to keep his jaw from trembling. At the Callahan house, success always came with conditions. When Danny bought a dilapidated boat, his grandparents praised him as a business genius. When Aaron survived 12 months in Kandahar, his grandfather simply said, "Well, at least you're not an infantryman." When Danny opened a car wash and went bankrupt after 3 months, Mrs. Callahan said, "He has the blood of an entrepreneur." And when Aaron graduated from Army officer school while suffering from a spinal injury, "You're always so stubborn." Nothing she did was perfect in their eyes. Sunness record. Respectfully inviting Captain Aaron Callahan to the platform. Aaron stepped forward instinctively. Applause erupted. Hank whistled loudly from the back row. Colonel Ruiz carefully pinned the golden oak leaf, Major Rank, to her lapel. Aaron smiled, a professional smile. But inside, she felt an overwhelming weariness. It was emotional arthritis. When you're hurt too many times by the same person, the wound no longer stings. It just throbs, numbs. Scene: Fort Meade parking lot, after the ceremony. Outside, families were hugging and taking photos under the flagpole. The sound of a champagne bottle being opened clandestinely echoed in the parking lot. Aaron stood alone, clutching a small cardboard box containing her old captain's insignia. Hank slowly approached. "Hank, your parents really didn't come?" Aaron shook her head. Hank muttered a swear word under his breath, then offered her a McDonald's napkin. "Hank, here, wipe it off." Aaron, realizing tears had fallen. "I'm sorry." Hank, "Don't apologize for normal human emotions. Go back to the office, Major." Aaron got into her Honda Pilot. She sat in the car for 40 minutes in the dark basement. She didn't start the engine. She opened her phone, looking at the contact mom. Her fingers trembled. Then she realized she was 37 and still waiting for validation from the people who had labeled her a rebellious daughter 20 years ago. She pressed delete. Her mother's number disappeared. Scene: the Pentagon office. 6 weeks later, a photograph of a cybersecurity briefing at the Pentagon was published in the Washington Post. Aaron wasn't the center. She stood in a corner of the room, in uniform, clutching a stack of classified documents, with 2 armed gendarmes beside her. But in Akron, Ohio, that photograph was like Aaron had just landed on the moon. Aaron's phone rang late Tuesday night. "Akron area code." "Aaron," I answered. Mrs. Callahan, speaking in a voice as sweet as honey. Honey? Why didn't you tell your parents you were doing something so important? The ladies at street. Bernadette's church keep talking about your picture in the newspaper. Aaron leaned against the kitchen counter in his Alexandria apartment, watching the torrential rain outside the window. There were no "how are you," no congratulations on your promotion to major, and no mistakes in the ceremony. Only the audience's reaction. Aaron, calmly. Mom, it was just a normal press conference. Mrs. Callahan, smiling softly. Oh, it wasn't normal at all. Your father is showing the newspaper off all over the neighborhood. We really want you home this weekend. He misses you a lot. And Danny wants to ask you something too. Scene. Secure corridor, Pentagon. The next day. Aaron's official phone rang. An internal number with no name displayed. Aaron, Major Callahan speaking. Voice, over the phone. Major, this is Special Counsel Warren from the Pentagon's legal department. Your name just came up in a tender fraud investigation involving Callahan Marine Supply and Logistics in Ohio. Aaron's blood froze. Aaron, what investigation, sir? Advisory Warren. Forgery and impersonation of Pentagon officials. Your brother, Daniel Callahan, sent numerous letters of recommendation bearing your signature, rank, and title to win Department of Defense subcontracts. Aaron leaned against the corridor wall to keep from falling. Aaron, I swear I knew nothing about this. Advisory Warren, we know you didn't sign, but until the investigation is complete, you are not permitted to have direct contact with the subject. If proven to have interfered or covered up, you will lose your security clearance and your pension for the past 18 years. That night, Aaron went to Colonel Ruiz's house. At the dinner table, the colonel pushed his coffee cup toward her after hearing the whole story. Collabor Ruiz. Callahan, in intelligence, the most dangerous enemy isn't the one who hates you from the start. It's the one who suddenly smiles at you when they realize you have some value to exploit. Scene. Danny's house in Akron, 6 p.m. Sunday. The house, located in Akron's new urban area, reeked of beer and cigarette smoke. The living room TV blared a football game. Relatives and neighbors crowded around, plates of spaghetti in hand, laughing and chatting noisily. Aaron walked in. She wasn't in civilian clothes. She wore her most formal dress blues, a ceremonial sword tucked into her belt, and a stack of blue military files clutched in her hand. Her arrival instantly silenced the noisy room by half. Mr. Callahan, excitedly patting Aaron on the shoulder in front of everyone. Look who it is! My major's daughter. She works directly at the Pentagon, a CIA agent. Aaron, cold, decisive voice. I am a major in Army intelligence, father, not the CIA. Danny emerged from his kitchen, sweat beading on his forehead despite the cold. He forced a smile, a bottle of beer in his hand. Danny, sister, here's the genius from the Department of Defense. Let's talk a bit in the room later. There are a few company procedures I need your advice on. The meal unfolded in an atmosphere of underlying tension. Danny kept talking about upcoming government contracts, his eyes constantly glancing at Aaron as if trying to force her to nod in agreement in front of the relatives to maintain her prestige. Mr. Callahan raised his glass. Our family is so fortunate to have Aaron to bring honor to our lineage. Aaron set down his fork. The slight clink of metal against the porcelain plate startled Mrs. Callahan. Aaron, actually, there's something I think everyone here needs to hear. The room fell silent. Only the distant voice of the TV commentator could be heard. Aaron stood up, straightening his shirt. Aaron, 3 weeks ago, the Department of Defense Criminal Investigations, DCIS, filed charges of document forgery and illicit profiteering related to Danny's company. She opened the blue file, scattering the printed investigation orders and her forged signatures on the dining table, right between the plates of spaghetti and bottles of beer. Danny, his face drained of color, he jumped up. Are you crazy? You're reporting your own brother? I did this to save this company, to save this family. Mr. Callahan, slamming the table. Aaron, what are you doing? He's your brother. You think you're better than this family just because you're wearing this outfit? Mrs. Callahan, sobbing. Aaron, how could you be so cruel? Danny has a wife and children. Aaron, her voice was low, but it filled the entire room. He was my brother when he needed to use my reputation to scam people. But when I was getting my promotion, where were you all? You treated my 18-year career, my wounds, as a joke. You were willing to drag me down into the mud to save a useless, incompetent person. Mr. Callahan, pointing directly at Aaron, his eyes bloodshot. "You ungrateful daughter. You're divorced, childless, penniless. You have nothing but this empty title. If you don't sign the waiver and admit you knew about this, I'll tell the whole town you're a cold-blooded traitor to your family." Erin looked at her father. There was no trace of hurt in her eyes, only liberation. "Erin, you don't need to wait for me to tell you." Ding dong! The doorbell rang, cutting through the thick silence. No one moved. Erin went to open the door. 2 investigators in dark DCIS coats and an IRS agent entered. They weren't carrying rifles, nor were they wearing impressive body armor, just their black leather ID badges and cold handcuffs. DCIS investigators. "Major Callahan, thank you for your cooperation." They walked past Erin towards the dining table. DCIS investigators. "Daniel Callahan, you are under arrest for federal commercial fraud and impersonating a government official." Danny trembled. The beer bottle in his hand fell to the floor, foam splashing everywhere. Mrs. Callahan fainted in the arms of a relative. Mr. Callahan stood there staring, then turned and yelled at Erin with utter helplessness. "Mr. Callahan, you've ruined this family. Are you satisfied now?" Erin stood on the porch, the light from the police car outside illuminating the brass buttons on her blue dress. She looked at the man who had aged 10 years before her. "Erin, no, Father. I've only brought something to this house that no one here has ever wanted to give me." She paused, looking him straight in the eye. "Erin, the truth." Scene: I-77 highway rest stop, 5 a.m. the next day. It was still dark in Akron. A gray autumn drizzle fell on the rental car's windshield. Erin stood beside a vending machine, a steaming cup of coffee in her hand. She had removed her formal attire, wearing only a simple black military windbreaker. Her phone vibrated. A message from Colonel Ruiz. "Your case has been cleared. Congratulations, Major." Erin took a sip of the awful coffee. She looked out at the highway stretching before her, toward Washington, D.C., where she belonged. The wound in her knee ached again from the damp Ohio weather. She smiled, a genuine, relieved smile. She hadn't won, but she was free. "Erin," whispering to herself, "this ceremony, it's truly just for me." She tossed the paper cup into the trash can, got into her car, and sped off into the morning mist. Scene: I-77 highway rest stop, 5 a.m. the next day. It was still dark in Akron, a characteristic Ohio-style gray fog enveloping the deserted rest stop. The rain outside wasn't heavy, just a gentle drizzle clinging to the windows like glue. Erin stood beside the vending machine, holding a steaming paper cup of coffee. She had removed her formal gown, now wearing only a simple black military windbreaker. Her phone lit up. 17 missed calls from various Akron numbers. There was even a text message from a relative. "Your mother is broken. Are you satisfied now?" Erin looked at the words, her fingers no longer trembling. She selected them all, then pressed the block button. One tap, and the entire world of Akron fell silent. The sound of a new email notification rang out. Letter from the Pentagon's legal office. "The formal investigation file is closed for Major Aaron Callahan. Security clearance status, completely clean. Thank you for your integrity." Erin turned off the screen. She looked out at the dimly lit parking lot ahead. A dilapidated pickup truck, rusted at the rear fender, slowly pulled into the parking space. The door opened and Hank stepped out. He was wearing an old puffer jacket with the 1st Infantry Division logo, leaning on a cane, limping because of a knee injury. Erin froze slightly. She stepped out onto the patio, the cold wind hitting her face. "Erin." "Hank? Why are you here?" Hank didn't answer immediately. He slowly walked over, his breath creating white puffs in the cold air. He placed a small insulated bag on the outdoor wooden table, containing an egg sandwich and a warm cup of Dunkin' Donuts. "Hank, I guess you'll be going this way back to D.C. We old folks have a good intuition about soldiers trying to escape their past. Erin looked at his coffee cup, then at the 72-year-old man who had driven nearly an hour in the pouring rain just to stop her. "Erin," his voice hoarse, "I just sent my brother to jail, Hank, and I just buried my family with my own hands." Hank leaned his cane against the edge of the table, sitting down heavily in the wooden chair. He looked straight into Erin's eyes, the eyes of a man who had been through 2 wars and buried too many comrades. "Hank, you didn't bury anyone, Callahan. You just got out of the hospital after surgery to remove a tumor. It hurt, yes, but if you kept it, you died." He pointed to Erin's jacket pocket, where the golden oak leaf of promotion was temporarily tucked inside. "Hank, The Army gave her a new rank, not so she could stand as a scapegoat for those who didn't appreciate her. That oak leaf was a symbol of resilience. Oak trees only grow in the most barren soil, but once they take root, no storm can knock them down. Erin looked down at her hands calloused from years of gripping guns, documents, and carrying unseen expectations. She picked up Hank's hot coffee cup, pressing it against her palms for warmth. Erin, that day at Fort Meade, when I saw those 2 empty chairs, I thought I was a failure. Hank, a sarcastic chuckle, his voice lowering. Those 2 chairs weren't empty, Major. They were filled with your freedom. From this moment on, you don't need to step onto the podium to seek the gaze of those 2 people sitting there anymore. You step up for yourself. Erin remained silent. She looked up at the sky. Far across the horizon, over Pennsylvania, a faint orange streak was trying to pierce the gray fog of Ohio. Dawn was breaking. For the first time in years, Erin felt a lightness in her chest. No more anger, no more hatred, no more guilt. Only a clean emptiness, like a ship's deck cleaned after a great storm. She turned to look at Hank, nodding slightly, the nod of a major to an old sergeant. Erin, thank you for coming, Hank, both today and the 3 days before. Hank, standing up with his cane, smiling. Go ahead, Major. The Pentagon is waiting for you. Erin walked back toward her Honda Pilot. She opened the car door, fastened her seatbelt, and carefully took the golden oak leaf badge from her jacket pocket, attaching it to the dashboard in front of her, where the early morning sunlight shone brightly. She pressed the accelerator, and the car sped onto the highway, leaving Akron, the past, behind in the rearview mirror. The road ahead was completely silent, wide open, and this time it led her home. The real home she had defined.